to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Today, my friend, my co-author in the third book, The Power Talk Friday Experts Volume 2, interior design business coach and all-around mindset guru, Desi Creswell, is back with us on the show. Desi has spoken with us before about managing burnout, tapping into the CEO mindset, and working on your productivity to create more time. And I don't know about you, but these are all things that I benefit from hearing about in all the ways, in however many times I can get them in front of me, right? And today is no exception. Desi talks with us today about alignment. And I have to tell you this, every time Desi and I do another interview, it seems like she's talking to me about the thing that I exactly need most in my business at that moment. I don't know how she does that. We don't together, before she comes on the show, talk about what topic she's going to do, right? She presents a topic to me and I'm like, hey, sounds good. And then sometimes it's weeks or months until we put, we get the date on the calendar. And I have to say, every single time, it is so darn woo-woo that when she comes in and she starts the conversation, I'm thinking, this is exactly what I need right now. So I'm hoping you're having this same experience each time Desi is on the show. It is no secret that I am the big picture, big dreams, entrepreneur mindset kind of person. I'm always looking for that next thing to add to the business, right? Launching a new podcast. We just did that 2 months ago. Creating new programs, expanding LuAnn University, whatever it is. And with those big ideas come multiple never-ending to-do lists that often do keep me bogged down in the day-to-day, which I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. I am not at all fond of. And additionally, I'm not at all good at them, okay? So it comes back to this idea of working on the business. It's something that so many of us talk about. And I think it's something that most of us are on board with, the idea. But the how can be the tricky part, especially when you do have these ongoing to-do lists every day, right? So the question is, how do you pull yourself back and conquer those higher level tasks? How do you prioritize and motivate yourself to stop putting your business on the back burner? Desi is going to walk through a tangible framework to make this happen. Yay. Now, before we do that, let's take a minute to thank our show sponsor, Revel Woods, your source for premium hardwood and resilient flooring. Using the Revel Woods Selector tool, you'll be able to find curated suggestions for your projects catered to your client's home and zip code, okay? Because climate has a big effect on hardwood, right? So when you sign up for a free professional membership, you'll get access to exclusive discounts and referral benefits. Visit revelwoods.com to get started. And at least just visit revelwoods.com to take a look around, right? Now, let's hear what Desi has to say about working on the important aspects of our business, even when we're in the thick of the day-to-day. Hi, Desi. Thanks so much for coming back on the podcast.
Hi, LuAnn. I'm so excited to be back.
I am so happy to have you back. We were just talking a few moments off air about it's been way too long since we caught up, and I'm excited to have you and to have this conversation with you, Desi. Oh, my goodness. You always, hit me right between the eyes when you send me an idea and a little outline of the things that you'd like to teach us. And I don't know, you use the word alignment, and I love that you use that word alignment, Desi, because I'm going to tell you what, lady, you have like this, I don't know, laser like aim at my life. It seems like every time I'm like reading it, going, oh my goodness, I need this so badly right now.
I'm in your head always.
Oh, you are, you are, you are. And the thing is, and I know, just like from all the conversations you have with the designers that you meet, that so many of us are, experience this at either all the time if we don't overcome it, or at some point in our business journey. And it's, talking about how we feel like we're pulled in a million directions, that we spend our days putting out fires. And, we love this. The whole world tells us to work on our business, right? I tell people to work on their business. Who am I kidding? Right?
Yep.
And I think that we need to say the message all the time, because, there is always a point in someone's business journey that it is new information to work
Yes.
on your
Oh,
business,
absolutely.
right? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, right. But then there's more seasoned business owners like myself that know this intellectually and have varying degrees, weekly, monthly, seasonally, where we're successful at it. So,
Mhm.
so talk to me, like, just set this stage. I know exactly where we are and what this feels like, but talk a little bit about it so that listeners can find themselves in this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, we want to talk about working on the business. First of all, let's define that. So that's working on things that are moving your business forward. It's really prioritizing the long-term health of your business over the short-term deadlines and sort of the more urgent, immediate client deliverables. And we want to do this so that we can experience balanced growth and a balanced business.
Mm.
And you mentioned the word alignment, which I do love that word. And really, when we look at creating a balanced business, it's the foundation behind creating that aligned business that I talk about in the Power Talk Friday book, which is really a business that is supporting your life and working with your life, right?
Mm.
Because we want to have the balance in the business so that we don't have things all out of whack, where there's one thing that's driving all of the action or consuming all of the energy. And I know so many designers are experiencing that right now, where they've got a boom in business, but there were things that were not balanced before. And now the imbalances in the business are exacerbated. And to a greater degree, it's more obvious what those are.
Mm.
So, when I think about a balanced business or balanced growth, we want to look at the internal and also the external. And so that can be the front end and the back end of your business. We do this because the top three problems that you have in your business, wherever you're at business, because I work with clients who, are fairly new to their design career, or maybe new to starting their business, or have been in the industry for decades, right? But whatever your top three problems are, they're just going to grow with you as you grow your business. So
That's so true.
please take note of that, everyone. That is why we're talking about this.
I
And
just
that is
love it when
going
you
to
hit me between the eyes.
that is going to contribute to overwhelm and burnout. And so it feels challenging to say, I am going to take some time and energy to devote to working on my business. And I totally get that, but that's why we're here today, because we're going to talk about why you're not doing it now and what you can do to make it happen. And if people are kind of wondering what some of these things are, examples might be like marketing or your client narrative and projects to support the client narrative. And the way that I describe that really is this process that I teach within Out of Overwhelm. My group is this prospect to profit. So what's the client journey that is being taken from them, their very first moment of awareness, all the way through the offboarding? It might be something like finances. It could be systems. It could be hiring and managing. These are all really important components to pay attention to in your business, and they have to be balanced with the client work and delivering an amazing design product to your clients. Because without all these other things, you don't get to do the thing that you truly love.
Mm. Well, and you know what? You're so right about that. We say that, in the big picture, that's exactly the premise of the podcast. It's if you are not operating a profitable business, we don't get to see the beautiful things that your innate beautiful talent that only you have can create. And so I love that you just said there that on one side of the equation is the the things that are the health of the business, the client journey, your finances, your systems, your marketing plan, and then the other side of it is the actual client work. It's actual conversations and meetings with clients, and the design work and the elevations. It's that they're the two sides of working in and on the business, is what you're describing to us, correct? Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And they are both so important.
Right. But what happens is we get very, very, very pulled into the other side, the things that the clients need, the things that the vendors need, the things that the contractors need, the work that we have to do actually in design. And those things are the deadline driven priority stuff that attracts and gets our attention on the daily. And these other things keep being like, hey, one day when everything else is done and I have a clear day, I'll figure out my marketing plan.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes, exactly. And I mean, that's one of the ways that this really shows up is that procrastination and pushing off of the projects. And that can kind of come from a couple different areas. One of those is that prioritizing urgent over important.
Mm.
Another piece of it, though, is the procrastination that comes from perfectionism, where we end up mentally spinning on the right thing to focus on for working on our business, right? Because we're constantly being told we need to work on our business. And I just gave you a ton of examples of what that could look like. And so now listeners might be thinking, well, gosh, I've got to work on my finances, my marketing, my client narrative. What am I supposed to do? And then we get paralyzed, right? So that's how it can show up. It can be in that starting and stopping without ever closing the loop to completion. It's all these different ways that it shows up. And so just to give clients, or not clients, I should say, listeners, a picture of what this might look like if I were peering in your office
Mm.
and we were seeing how this was playing out in your business.
The thing is, it's interesting because we just had a conference in Fort Lauderdale in April with Exciting Windows. And Madeline McCrae spoke, and she outlined the 7 asset categories in your business. And she said at any one time, you can only effectively work on 2 asset categories. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really resonating with what you're saying. You're using different words, you're using different concepts, but the core of what you're saying is true. It's like you just mentioned. If you just heard finances and systems and client journey and marketing and thought, "Oh my goodness, I have to do all of them." That's that point where you, to your exact point, where we start to take in the information from the podcast, from the books, from our friends, from our mentors, from our coaches. These are all important. And then not being able to understand how to break them down and work on them, we spin and we get anxious and we, kick it to the curb, right, Desi?
Oh, absolutely. I am so glad you brought up that example because that is one of the things that I see with clients a lot where it feels like they're so busy and taking all of this action, but they're not producing actual results, whether that's for the client works or on the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were having a conversation about this before we started recording, even about all the things that happen that sort of just expand the day. And and this is something that listeners should really be on the lookout is this idea of passive action, where you're
Mm.
really consuming a lot of information on a topic that isn't balanced with the actual creation of the result.
Mm.
And the consuming, whether that is reading, tips on Instagram, listening to podcasts, all of that feels so active. So it
Mm.
gives you that hit of dopamine of, oh, I'm doing something about this, I'm
Yes.
making progress. But then we don't actually end up taking action on it. So we don't get the result that we want, even though we feel busy. So it's sort of like this false sense of activity and completion when really we might need to do a little research and we can talk more about that. But we might need to do a little bit, but we often know at least the next right step or one piece of information we need to look up, and then we can get into action. And
Mm.
that's one of the ways that you can really start to build momentum with some of these on your business type things.
It's so true. And it's really why I end every podcast with decide to be excellent, because
Mm-hmm.
you just consumed a really probably great podcast. Some guests just gave, like you today, giving great information, but that wasn't the thing. Like, that's the idea now, but that's not, just hearing that is not going to actually affect a change or impact your business if you don't take the next step. And that's where and Desi, at LuAnn Live, our virtual LuAnn Live, we had people in the Zoom when I was talking with people live during the Zoom, literally share. There were people who were crying that were saying, I now feel so overwhelmed because I don't know. This has been like this fire hydrant of information, and I don't know where to start. And so it's a tough thing. It's a real thing. And I will tell you, you're going to share a bunch of ideas and tips on how to do it. And I'm just going to tell you, Jessica Harling, who teaches the 7-step proven sales method for LuAnn University,
Mm-hmm.
she gave me a book about 6 months ago. It's a very old book. It's David Allen, Getting Things Done.
Oh,
And
yep.
you know the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I was like, this is such a game changer. And there's many, many tips in this book, but you know what, the one thing, and it speaks to what you were just saying, and that's why it's reminded me of it, is okay, that's a great idea. What's the next action to do? And what's so funny is often our brain will not actually, without putting its against the wall, like our back against the wall, will not identify the next action. It will identify the fifth next act. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go to the mall. Like, let's just talk about that. Oh, I've decided to go to the mall. And so now you might say, challenge yourself. Okay, what's the next action? Oh, well, when I get there, I'm going to, go into Nordstrom's because no, but what's the next action? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's not like the next action is get in your car. You know what I mean? Like, get in
Mm-hmm.
the car, drive there, park, walk in. Like, there's 5 things that have to happen before you go and try on the dress. And I found that to be very clarifying in my day. It's like, oh, we're going to do this. Okay, let's do it. What's the next thing? And previously, a lot of times as a team, we would actually identify what's really the 5th thing to do. And so I love that you're talking about this, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. And I will say that clients have shared that that is one of the most impactful things that they learn when they're a member of the group, because they find that if you stick to the next best thing and really train your brain to
Mm,
do that, that is when you actually get things done.
right.
So I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So where do we go next? We want to talk about some of the mistakes we make when we think we're okay, I'm all motivated and I want to start to work in this direction, or lead me, Des, where are we going?
Yeah, I think that's a great next step so that we can address some of the resistance, maybe, or common myths about working on your business, especially when you're really busy, which I know so many of the listeners are right now.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some of the ways that I see people trying to solve for this, and it's not working for them, and I can explain why. So the first piece of it is a lot of forcing and pushing and trying to use discipline or willpower. That is the big one.
This is not LuAnn seeing herself in your sentence, Desi. No. Because here's the next thing. And when you're not successful, it's like, you're a piece of this. Why didn't you just stick to what your discipline said to do, right? Right? This is it.
Yes.
I hear it. I know it.
Yes. I coached a client on this recently where she's like, I just need to be more
That's
disciplined.
it. That's it.
And I asked her, what is your relationship with discipline? How do you define discipline? And it really became clear that when she thought to herself, I need to be more disciplined, she felt awful. It felt like she had a mean boss that was like looking over her shoulder, whipping her, you know? And so what do you do when you're feeling that threatened basically by yourself? You don't take action. And I know that so many of the women that I work with are, and this used to be me too, and I still have to watch myself with this, but we think that the self-judgment, we think that the discipline is what's going to motivate us.
Mm,
And in the past, it has kind of worked for us,
mm.
right? It works to a certain extent. But at a certain point, then it becomes so exhausting and you just can't keep it up. And that's really when the overwhelm comes in.
Well, I'll tell you why, because this is one of the things that I am at fault at. Okay. So I'll
Mhm.
tell you why you stupidly, I'm just going to say it, like for me, stupidly think it will work, because there's a lot of areas where it does work. You're like, you know what? I get up and I'm going to run 3 miles 3 days a week. Get up and you do it. And so it works. And on the days that it's raining, you're like, you know what? You don't mind the rain. On the days it's 40 degrees, you're like, you love running in 40 degrees. Just do it. And then when you don't do it, then you're like, you see, you're just a dummy. Like, why didn't you just do it? So I think, for me personally speaking, just for me, that's why the forcing and pushing of this self-imposed, I am a person of discipline, works and doesn't work, because it works in certain areas, but to your point, it doesn't work because it is not actually the mechanism to which you're going to describe on how to accomplish these things, right?
Right. But I would be curious, Luann, when you get back into action then of taking the next best step of going for the run,
Mm-hmm.
are you more focused on how you've told yourself, oh, I always feel great after I'm done? Or are you more focused on, you're such a dummy. Why didn't you do that?
Oh no, I'm completely focused on, when you finish this, you're glad. I'm like,
Exactly.
and even the entire run, and of course I'm talking past. Ever since the hip, I really don't run that
Yeah.
much, but
Yeah.
but even the entire run, I'm like, this stinks. I don't want to do this anymore. I was going to do 4 miles. I'll do 3. Are you kidding? You're doing 4. You said you were going to do 4. I'm just going to run to that telephone pole. Okay, I made it to the telephone. I'm going to go to the next thing I know, I've ripped off 4 miles. And when I come back, I'm like, yes, lady, good for you.
Yeah. So I just want to reflect that because you gave responsibility to the self judgment for you doing the run, the next run, but it was really you tapping into your future self and how great you were
Mm,
going to feel that created you taking the run.
you're right.
And that's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm talking about with this type of work where it's like you want to plan to do these projects for your business. We have to get out of that self judgment cycle.
Okay. So what you're clarifying for me is, when I've thought that discipline works sometimes and doesn't work sometimes, when it's worked, it's because I've tapped into the future self being happy with the results that I'll create, as opposed to living in the judgment of just get up and go run.
Yes,
I
exactly.
love that clarity, Desi. I
Hmm.
love that. So whether I want to write a solo episode, which can take me 5 hours to do or 1 hour to do, I never know, because, I get going down rabbit holes and maybe I have to look up 16 other episodes. But it's like, if I tap into the happiness of it being completed on time, done well, and all of those things, I'm more likely to do it at the time that I quote unquote said I would do it, as opposed to pushing it to the last day of the deadline.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Wait. Okay. Because I really think I'm getting it. And I'm assuming other people are having the same little mini ahas I am. So, if I want to do something on my business, I want to create a client journey on
Hmm.
Tuesday. I want to start the process of really doing this. That's more than a 1 day project, but I want to start that process. What you want us to recognize is, we don't just do it on Tuesday because we said we put it in our calendar to do it. We do it on Tuesday because on Wednesday we will be so glad that we took the first steps in revamping our client experience.
Exactly.
Ah.
And would you rather spend the time just doing the client experience as a gift to your future self, or spend the time the day after beating yourself up about why
Oh.
you didn't do it in the first place?
See, that is the light bulb moment right there. That is the light bulb moment. Oh my goodness. And you know what, Desi? I tell you this every time you're on the darn show. I still have written in front of me, when I think it was the first time you were on the podcast, what will your 5-year self say about this day? Like you said that to me, and I wrote it down. And you know what I just realized? I have to say, what would LuAnn's tomorrow say about this day? What
Yes.
does LuAnn tomorrow say about this day? Everyone listening, what does, Sally say about this day tomorrow? that's like that's it. It's like, immediate. It's do it to, make your action today. And so tomorrow is yourself going to say, hey, dummy, you blew the day away and you didn't do what you did? Or is your tomorrow self going to say, good job, you took a movement on your marketing plan, or you took a movement in having that meeting with a bookkeeper to understand the integration of QuickBooks, like whatever the tiny thing is, right?
Yes. And noting that to yourself and celebrating it for yourself, which is so uncomfortable, I find, for clients. And it's why we practice it when you're in my program. But when you say, hey, good job, you did that. You did that thing you didn't really feel like doing. It's like, it's a self-reinforcing cycle that creates that momentum for yourself.
So good. I love the aha moments that you make me have.
Oh, thanks, LuAnn.
Okay. And and then this will help us avoid what I also feel many of us do is waiting to do these things until we have the time, to do them. Like, oh, I can't really work on my marketing plan now because I have to schedule a whole offsite day to do this. It's like, can I do an hour of it today? Will I be glad that I did this tomorrow, or will I be upset tomorrow that I still have done nothing about my marketing? Am I getting to be an A student on this now?
Yes, you are. I will mail you some gold stars.
Well, you got to wait till I do it. Then you can send me the gold stars.
I'll send them to Vin, and then he can dole them out appropriately.
Exactly. He does this, by the way. He's so good at this. He is so good at just doing what he's supposed to do, darn it.
I know. There are those people.
Yeah.
But for the majority of the population, I'd say that's not typically the case.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we want to avoid that, making it this big thing that we have to wait for all of the other fires and things to be done in order to address these working on our business activities, because the fires and all the things are going to happen, right?
Yeah, there will never be a time
Right.
when it's just you magically have a week where you will receive no emails, no phone calls, have no project work due. I mean, it's not possible.
So that is the reason why, though, do you find, I mean, look, in your group, you are counseling people every single week and month to make the moves and to do the things on the daily and get them done. But in the big picture, that is why it is a good plan in our businesses to plan those once at least or twice yearly off-site visits where you either work with yourself and your key managers or you work with your whole team, because we can't just wait for those things. But I mean, we do that at WindowWorks. We do that at Exciting Windows. Okay, we're out. Like, there's no email today, no customers today, no nothing. We're working on, but then we got to come back and put it into practice. And that's where this all comes in, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm glad you clarified that. I mean, for me, it's setting a goal at the beginning of the year, and then quarterly I'm reviewing and setting key projects for each quarter that are going to get me to that end goal. So yes, you definitely would like to take some time to think more big picture, to plan things out, but we don't want to wait for those week-long spaces to arrive to take any action on these projects, because that might be just once or twice a year versus you putting in consistent effort all along the year. That is going to add up to be a such greater impact on your overall business.
Exactly. 100% agree. Okay. So other than this very brilliant, I mean, literally, this is going to be I have so many mantras and questions that I've learned from, people like yourself and Madeline and Amber and everything. And so this is going to be added to the list. LuAnn, what will you think about this tomorrow? LuAnn, what will you think about this tomorrow? Right? Because that's the moment that you have the chance to do something about it. Right. And,
absolutely.
And it's so funny because it reminds me how my theory on food and sweets and all of that is I love Twix bars, right? I love them.
Hmm.
But I
Mm.
also like being in shape. And
Hmm.
so I'm, can't just have a Twix bar every darn day and I can't eat anything I want. And especially now at this age, in the metabolism and everything. But even all through my life, it was always, and it reminds me of this, and this is what I'm going to say, is I've never been a dieter, but I've always been a person who says, do I want this? So if I would be in the mood, maybe I had 5 window works appointments in a day and I'm like in between going to grab a bottle of water at a quick check or something. And I might be like, I like to have a quick Twix bar now. And then,
Hmm.
but I always say, do you want a Twix bar today? Like, do you need it? And I'd stand there looking at the Twix bars going, do you really want it? Like, do you want it today? And then I'm like, you know what? No, maybe tomorrow I'll get it. And other days I'm like, nope, having it today, lady. Right. And so, but what it is I'm relating that to maybe being in the moment where I've decided ahead of time in my calendar that I'm going to work on something and then consciously saying, am I going to work on this today? Okay, it's in your calendar. Like it's staring right at you. The Twix bar is looking at you. The calendar's looking at you. Or are you going to blow it off? Okay, so how will you feel about that tomorrow? Well, it's important to blow it off today because this just happened. Or nope, you're going to do it today. So like I'm feeling like that's a similarity, right?
Oh,
It's like a
absolutely.
conscious choice instead of just unconsciously going through your day and not getting, not paying attention to what your choices are, right?
Yes, it's all about intentional planning and intentional decision making
Mm,
and what I call leading from your future self.
yeah,
So you're making decisions that are in alignment with your goals because the primitive part of your brain, which is the one that's just, kind of hums along, it's the default thinking. It's always going to want the Twix bar. It's always going to want to do the easiest thing. It's
right,
always going to want to like not do the thing you had on your calendar
right,
most of the time.
right,
And so we need to use the prefrontal cortex, which is like the part of your brain that really has your highest self in mind, your
right.
future self in mind, to make those decisions for ourselves that are going to actually support us. So I think I give, if anyone's been in my program that's listening, they know I provide food examples all the time because I actually think there is so many parallels between like dieting or exercise, that kind of thing with time management. So
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking my language.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, I know that I have successfully done that for my entire adult life. And it's just taking that mechanism over into the business and
Hmm.
giving it a thought. Like as opposed to, oh, it's on my calendar to do emails from 11 to 12 and just being like, oh, it's 12 and I didn't do it. It's
Hmm.
like 11 o'clock. Am I going to do the emails now? I don't want to. Should I? Will I be happy tomorrow that I did it? Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
Do them.
Yep.
Or am I going to face myself tomorrow when I have 2 hours of emails to do?
Exactly.
So, okay, good. All right. So what are some other practices? What are some other things that we need to do in order? Because I'm having my ahas for these couple of tips, but we're all different and we all respond to different mechanisms and triggers, right, Desi?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would love to just walk you through essentially how you can do this.
Oh, great.
Okay. So from the very first start of our conversation about narrowing in on what you're going to focus on for that on the business type project through actually executing it, I want to give a framework for listeners so that way they can take it and run with it. Okay.
Love it.
So essentially, to break it down, you're going to select one on your business objective at a time, and then you're going to do some planning, and then you're going to see it to completion, and then you're going to repeat the process. So the big piece of this first part is that you're going to select one thing.
Hmm.
All right, one thing. Can I
Right.
repeat that again?
That's tough, right?
Now, I know so many people have resistance to just picking one thing, but I'm just constantly wanting to ingrain in people the power of focus and simplicity. And I think so often when we're resistant to picking one thing to work on, it really comes from some beliefs about wanting to do it all at once because we're worried it won't ever get done if we just pick one. We already think we're
Mm.
behind.
Mm.
We're not trusting ourselves to do it in the first place,
Mm.
right? There's all these beliefs that are driving it that are creating this sense of urgency for ourselves. And so that's really, as you know, so much of what I do. I've got the frameworks that I teach, but also it's backed by all the mindset work. So I
Mm.
think just first of all, let's say, I get that you might be feeling resistance. As I tell you, focus on one thing. That's normal. And that doesn't have to be a problem. And one of the ways that I like people to visualize this is watering a plant or plants. So I love to have plants in our house. And let's say you have one watering can of water to utilize, and you have 5 plants. This could be 5 projects within your business. If you have one bucket of water and you are putting a little drop of water in each of the 5 plants, chances are none of those plants are going to do very well.
Mm.
Whereas if you used your one bucket of water and consistently tended to one of those plants, you're going to see it flourish. This is exactly what happens when we pick one thing to focus on our business at a time and bring it to completion. So keep that in mind.
Okay. We're not worried yet about the other 4 dying.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Right? You probably shouldn't have bought the other 4 in the first place. Let me just tell you that.
Okay.
All right. We're going to get that one plant, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's going to look so beautiful. The leaves are going to be shiny. It's going to be wonderful. And then
Okay.
you can go to the plant store and get another plant. Okay.
Okay.
So the first thing I want you to think about is to really define which portion of your business you're going to be working on. There's really 3 buckets, in my opinion. And this goes back to that overwhelm about everything you could be picking from. So the first bucket would be marketing and selling. So that could be getting new leads and converting leads. Second bucket's delivery. So producing the design, that client experience, the actual design deliverables, how you maybe present templates that you use to show off drawings, things like that. And then you've got internal operations. So creating those repeatable processes, leadership and delegation, scheduling in advance, managing your money. Okay. So we want to just define which portion of the business you're working on. And this is when your brain's, again, going to tell you everything is important or I don't know, and you're going to want to get overwhelmed. But everything cannot be of equal importance. That's just, it's not possible to have everything be equally important. And so we need to stop telling ourselves this. And one of the ways you can do this is really looking out at your 3 to 5 year vision for your business and asking your business, what does it need? One of my favorite questions to ask myself and clients is, what's currently slowing me down or creating friction in my business? And that's usually a good place to start to see what would be a key issue that you could address with a project that focuses on your business. And I really encourage people to not allow themselves to say, I don't know at this point. Because when your brain tells you, I don't know, you're going to shut down and you're going to be stuck in confusion. And so if you did know, if you had to take a guess, what would be the thing that you could work on now that would have the greatest impact on this area of your business? And see what comes up.
And I'm going to say that having been coached by multiple people over the years, this is a mechanism that my cousin Eileen Hahn has used with me. Not in this particular arena, but that you just said, I want you to avoid allowing yourself to answer, I don't know. When you push yourself to know and to, like you just said, Desi, if you're forced to make your best guess, I have to tell you that when you allow yourself to get quiet and really just not accept, I don't know, you will come up with the answer. Every single time, either I have been pressed by an outside coach or internally, you do come up with it. And maybe the first 2 or 3 things out of your mouth are sort of around it, but if you explore it, you will find it, right? And I know you know that working with your group and all of your clients, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We don't ever know exactly, right? Like maybe you're going to choose to do something for marketing and you don't have 100% certainty that that's going to be the thing that your business needs. Let's just put that out as an option. But telling yourself, I don't know, is going to keep you from taking action.
Any
And
action.
you won't have any more data to then use to evaluate your next best step.
100%. So what you're saying is just figure out something, say something, and if you start down that path, you can change. But the other way, by saying I don't know, there's no action. You're just still standing still.
Yeah, you
Yep.
create more
Love
I
it.
don't know for yourself.
Right. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to pick something. You're going to take your best guess on what that area is, what is going to happen within that area, and make it specific. This is something that is so, so important. So we need to be specific with what the project is that you're working on. So often clients will join out of overwhelm. They want to work on systems or they want to create welcome or investments guides. At the very beginning of the program, I help you define your goals for the program and make a plan for achieving those. So those are just some examples of what you might be working on. But when you say I need systems, it's like, what does that even mean?
Right.
Your brain is going to go into confusion again if you're vague. And so this is your superpower right here, is getting specific. So if it is a system, what is that system specifically? Is it a system or process for sending out invoices? Is it a way for creating proposals? Is it a system for delivering one of your conceptual designs and how that gets laid out or presented? Get very, very specific. So, so important.
100%. 100%. That's that mechanism of getting things done. It's like, okay, you need a system. Oh, we need systems. All right, what are we going to do? We're going to make them. Oh, awesome. Like, which one?
Yes,
Right?
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And then you're going to commit to the end result. So why do you want to focus on this thing in particular? And what is it going to make possible for you and your business? So this is where you have the opportunity to compel yourself. And again, this goes back to tapping into what your future self is going to benefit from when you do this work. Because often we think, well, I should do this thing because so and so told me it's important to have it in my business. Or so and so's doing it and I think she's running a successful business, so I probably should do it too. But the thing is, if we don't have evidence of why it's important to us specifically and how it's attached to something we want to create for ourselves, when the day gets busy, when the contractor calls with a major whoopsies, it's not going to be enough to keep you going and follow that 30-minute dedicated time that you set aside to work on this project. So that is the other important piece of this.
Very good. I love that.
Then you're going to break it down into simple, doable steps. And this is where you're focusing on the next best action again. So when I say simple and doable, I mean really plotting out exactly what are all the mini results you're going to create within this larger result. So this is going to allow you to build momentum. It's going to allow you to take action when maybe you only have 30 minutes or an hour per week. And it's going to allow you to really feel satisfaction and accomplished more frequently with your projects, which then becomes that self-reinforcing cycle again. And I want to give an example of what this would look like because I think clients are often surprised at how detailed I get with my planning, but it makes it so easy for me to make those micro results happen on a consistent basis. So for example, if you wanted to create a client investment guide or something like that, there's a lot of different things that are going to go into planning out that project. You might need to do some research, and that research even could be specific. So it might be research on a designer who's going to help you format it. It could be research on maybe how others in the industry have completed it. Maybe research on the types of information that you want to include, right? So that could be 3 different things right in there. You might have to set aside time to look for a template if you aren't hiring a designer. You might have time to collect images from your portfolio that you're going to add. You're going to create a rough draft or an outline. You're going to need time to edit it. Maybe it needs to be uploaded to a CRM system, right? So there's all these little pieces, these mini results that come together to create the overall result. And so we want to have it broken down so you can do these bite-sized chunks that will actually fit in your day versus you're probably not going to have time on just a random Tuesday to sit down and create an entire client investment guide.
So what you're saying is, and I love it, is instead of putting it in, now you have a goal that you want to create a beautiful client investment guide. And this is your one specific thing. But the next step after identifying that one specific thing isn't Wednesday from 9 to 11, I'm going to work on the client investment guide. It's Wednesday from 9 to 11, I'm going to do the research on the things I need for this client investment guide. And then maybe the following Wednesday, I'm going to, if the research is completed, I'm going to do the templates, or I'm going to investigate where I can buy the templates. Like, we're literally, it's almost like, again, I'm just repeating that. What is the next action, right? So we're breaking it down into not just a calendar saying client investment guide, 9 to 11. Like, because then we get there and we're like, I don't know what to do on this. All right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then there's a lot of mental then gymnastics, I call it, of trying to motivate yourself to do it, figuring out what the heck you're even doing, wondering if you're going to have enough time to do it. Right. So this just makes it so simple to make progress on these projects, even when you're busy.
And actually, what I'm thinking is your first appointment with yourself is probably identifying all of the subtasks that have to be done in order to do this thing that you decided is the thing that you're going to do. That might be your first appointment with yourself, understanding that there's going to be research, a template, collecting images, a rough draft, an edit, and then connecting it to the CRM, right? Like that's the very first step, is outline all the things in this project and then taking it bite size by bite size is what you're saying.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, LuAnn, because yes, that has to be planning for planning,
Yes,
essentially.
right.
And just because I know people are thinking this, I get it a lot from clients and in my program when I'm teaching them how to plan their days and weeks, but I don't have time to plan. But taking the time to plan your project out like this is going to save you hours and hours and hours of time. And it's going to ensure that it actually gets done as opposed to it being thrown into the someday pile again. So it is the absolute worthwhile investment that you make.
Well, and here's the thing. We're talking to an entire industry that actually knows this and exhibits, I'll call it discipline or habits in this area. How many designers listening, Desi, would just well, let me buy this sofa. Let me get that lamp. Oh, yeah, I just saw that one over at that showroom. No, they sit down first and make a plan for the room. It's a floor plan. Then there's a design, mood plan. There's a feeling plan. There's a color plan. There's all the things that they plan first, and then it's now we're on the search for the actual sofa and the fabric that will be on that sofa, right?
Yes. And so ask yourself, why do you think my clients are worthy of that time and attention? And I am not, or my business is not, right?
There it is. The arrow to the heart.
Yes, it's true though. I mean, the way that we subtly discount the importance of ourselves and our business in the whole scheme of things is very important. Yeah.
It's so true. So, what happens? I mean, look, best laid intentions. I've been here 1,000 times and 1,000 different variations of it, right? And I'm having some aha moments, which I know will help me going, literally today and the rest of my day. But what happens when you do plan to do it and then, you don't want to do it? I know what you said. Yeah. You said to me 3 years ago, LuAnn, I'm going to tell you like my kids. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do.
Yes. So you are going to plan to do these things and you're going to put it on your calendar and say, this is the exact thing I'm doing and this is when it's happening, right? and also plan for when you're not going to want to do it, because that's going to be the majority of the time. There's always going to be something that feels more urgent or important, right? And so one of the tools that I teach my clients is called the comeback method. And what we do is we look at what are all of the excuses or justifications or complaints that your brain is going to offer up when it comes time to do this thing, and decide ahead of time what you're going to tell your brain back. Because it's going to have some things to say, so you might as well be prepared for it.
Oh my goodness. It's like when you get ready to tell your kids that it's time for bed. You already know all the things you're going to say to them. Like you just have to treat yourself like your kids.
Yes, exactly. In a very gentle, loving way. And the other piece of this is you're going to have to embrace discomfort, especially at first. This is going to feel like it's going against what you are so used to doing, and that's not always going to feel great, right? And that's another thing of what if you just expected that this is going to feel a little unnatural at first?
Okay, I'm going to share something with you. Okay,
Mhm.
I told you off air ahead of time that I've been having my own aha journey in the last 3 weeks surrounding productivity and these types of issues, right?
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell the rest of you what I told Desi, that I'm taking baby steps. And I decided today that between 11 and 12 o'clock that I was going to write a solo show. And I said to Desi, you know, typically, I know LuAnn would have come into the office. I got here at 10 minutes to 11, would have come into the office knowing I have this solo show to write. And I would have started a conversation with Diana. I would have went over to WindowWorks and seen if they needed anything. And the time would have whittled away, and probably about at 20 minutes to 12, I would have said, oh, okay, so you got to open that up now and do that, which I know intellectually there's no way I'm writing a solo show in 20 minutes. Like it's just not happening, right?
Mhm.
And so the thing was, today I decided I was going to do what I said I was going to do. And I walked in, I did not get involved in anything, and I sat down and I worked on this solo show. And now, what I want to tell you, what Desi just said is 100% true. The entire hour that I was working on this, I was mentally ping ponging between discomfort, like she said, discomfort. I like there's this part of my brain that was going, you don't have that much time with Diana. Why are you sitting here doing silent work when she's right here and tomorrow you're not going to be with her? You should be reviewing, blah blah blah. And then I'm like, LuAnn, you said you're going to write this solo show. And so I'm ping-ponging between the discomfort of making myself do this and the happiness that my future self was going to feel that I completed. Like my language an hour and a half ago was that I exercised the discipline to do what I said I was going to do. And so you're 100% right that even when you put it in your calendar, you have I can't say that word, specifically what you're going to do, and you're actually achieving it and doing it, your crazy what brain is still going to be going, well, is this really the best use of your time? Like, you should be doing this. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah. And most of us will sense that discomfort in the body, or will hear those thoughts and that inner narrative and believe it and
Yeah.
think, oh, that actually means something has gone wrong here. I am not supposed to be sitting here doing this
Yep.
thing, and will exit the task.
Yep.
When really it's just you're retraining yourself to do things differently.
100%.
And it's going to be really uncomfortable if you don't do the thing you said you wanted to do, because you're going to deal with the consequence of it on the other side, right? Whatever that is, whether it's an actual external consequence or just kind of mean things that you say to yourself. So
Well,
for
that's what
me,
I
I'm
was. I
always
was like, no,
thinking,
I'm not saying these mean things to myself later. You're just finishing this. That's literally,
yeah.
because later
So
I would have said, you got to be kidding me. Seriously, you couldn't do 1 hour of discipline. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I think that, like, I always think about it as, which flavor of discomfort am I going to choose? I like to picture of it as the ice cream shop. It's like, well, doing this thing is going to feel kind of crummy, right? And I'm going to work on it feeling better. But right now, maybe it's not going to feel that great, or I can feel bad after the fact. So which
Yeah.
one am I going to do? Which one's
Well,
going to produce the result I want?
100%. And this is my other aha of this conversation is I have employed this technique for 1,000 years regarding Twix bars and all of the other indulgences of food. It's like
Mm-hmm.
ultimately I look at it, I'm like, well, what's worse? Not having it now or knowing that, I just put 14 grams of sugar in my body, 400 calories that I don't need. And, what's worse? And sometimes it's worse to put the shit in my body, and sometimes it's worse, it's worse to say no, I'm not going to do this now and walk away, and for 4 seconds it feels like, but I want it, and then I'm like back to being happy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very interesting thing. But when you just talked about expect that it could possibly feel uncomfortable, I'm just literally experienced it today and wanted to validate what you were saying, and so that the rest of our colleagues could feel normal when they experience it. Like, yup, she said it and it happened. And but like me, you might be able to, the first time you set out to do this, actually complete the task. And I'm feeling really good now that that's behind me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to build on itself and be great evidence for the future
Mm-hmm.
when you're going to have that a little bit of discomfort and you can choose differently again.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just love it. All right.
Now,
Go
let
ahead.
me just say here, there are
Yeah.
going to be times when you're going to practice what you're going to say to yourself of, I don't want to do it. And the comeback is, I'm going to be so happy when it's done, right? You're going
Mm.
to do that. And you're going to be like, yes, I'm embracing discomfort. And then maybe you're still not going to do it. Or you think it's going to take you 45 minutes and you're like, what was I thinking? This was not a 45-minute task,
That also
right?
happens. Yes.
Or there is some actual emergency you need to deal with. There are going to be times when your plan doesn't work out the way you planned it. And that's really when we want to always be evaluating with curiosity and looking at what did happen. Why was this the case? What was I maybe thinking or feeling that was the reason for me taking the action of not doing the thing?
Mm.
Or where did I not plan appropriately for this task? And what could I learn from that going forward? So, this is key because I think we often want to skip over evaluation, again,
Mm.
because we go to the place of self judgment. But some of the most valuable information you will ever learn about yourself or your business happens in this step of evaluating with curiosity. It's going to be what allows you to eventually complete the plan going forward.
Mm. Well, and this reminds me of how I'm always harping on do the autopsy of every project, right?
Yes, yes.
It's, when you complete a project, whether it was a 2-week project or a 2-year project, to pull it apart and evaluate what did we do well on this project? Where were the places that the client was super happy and how can we, lean into those? Where was the client disappointed and where were expectation unmet? What could we do to mitigate that? How did our systems work? And, what was the profitability of the project? Did we price it properly? And when we do that evaluation, and I know you're 100% right. I have talked to many designers that when I say, well, are you doing like they'll say to me, I'm struggling, I'm not making money, this and that. I'm like, are you doing the autopsy of every project? Well, no, I'm not. And it's because there's this little part of us that doesn't want to see in black and white, what possibly we might find. And we might find that we're not actually charging for all of our hours, or we're not pricing a flat fee properly, or we don't really have our systems buttoned down. But to your exact point in this analogy, it's in this evaluation and this curiosity of, see, I like the autopsy after the project's done, and you can put space between it. You could put a week, a month, you can put whatever between it so that you can get outside the emotion of it and be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is done. Whatever happened. Whatever money was made or wasn't made, whatever, happiness or discomfort the client experienced is done and over with, and we've resolved it. Now that's why I call it an autopsy. The person is dead. They're done. We're just seeing what happened in their body over their lifetime. They're out of it now. There's no pain, there's no discomfort for that person. It's an autopsy, it's an information fact finding expedition. And you're saying when you don't, you know, carry out what you said for yourself, don't just move on from it, but to ask yourself, what were you feeling? Why did you choose that decision? What planning could you have done that would have changed that, right? I love this, Des.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you said that sparked this for me is this idea of looking to yourself for answers, whether
Mm,
it is evaluating with your projects you're working on, like the client projects or these projects for the inside of your business, is to ask yourself what's really going on.
mm-hmm.
What really happened? Because I think in your example of profitability, it could be easy to think, well, I must be doing something wrong. I need to go research a bunch of places about how to be more profitable, or what are the best systems for an interior design business. And yes, you might want to get some specific information, but often the answer is already inside of you,
Mm-hmm.
just waiting for you to ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be then specific to your business versus what has happened for somebody else's business, or the way you particularly work in your business and complete projects, how you focus. So I want to put that out there as well as looking inward for these
Mm-hmm.
answers. That's really where the gold is.
100%. 100%. It's like I say all the time, wind it all the way back to where you could have done something different in order to change the outcome.
Hmm.
Right. So good.
Yeah. And then you're really going to apply the learnings from the evaluation, and you're going to continue to plan these mini results into your day and repeat until you see this project to completion. And you really have to be willing for this to not go perfectly,
Mm,
because it probably won't,
mm.
especially when you're starting to just learn this skill of completing projects this way. There is a lot of trial and error, but if you keep going, if you're committed to the end result of mastering this process, you will get there, and it is going to produce so much value in your business.
Well, and even that, right? Like to just consciously give ourselves the understanding and the grace to know that it will not go perfectly, that you will have to try it again, revise, evaluate, put it back into your calendar, do the things. I mean, what do we do that we expect to go perfectly, right? If we want to learn ballroom dancing, we don't like show up to the first Arthur Murray class and be like, boom, I'm an expert. Know how to cha
Hmm.
cha, know how to flamenco, right? Like what do? We take our kids to a ball game and to sign them up for t-ball, and we literally say to them every day, good job, good job. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, it's even cute when they're like whacking through the air and hitting no ball at all,
right,
right?
right. And we're like,
We
you
just
know what? You got
demonstrate.
closer than you did last time, right? Like,
Yep.
and that's the thing. So I love that you include that bit of information, to be willing to have it not go perfectly and not abandon it because it doesn't go perfectly. We don't abandon other things, that don't go perfectly. We expect to be able to hone our skill and get better. And this is no different, is what you're saying, right?
Exactly. Yep.
I
Hmm.
love it. I love it. Now, here's the thing. We've mentioned a couple of times that you work with designers, and you have a thing coming up called the Focus Fix, which it's just such a great opportunity for anyone listening that all of this just keeps hitting them between the eyes. Tell us about this masterclass.
Yeah, I'd love to. So today we've really been talking about focus on the macro level for your whole business. And the focus fix is aimed at the micro level. So creating focus in your day to day, which is really ultimately supporting all of the things that we've talked about on this episode. So it's for designers. I work with designers, and they really want to stop being reactive and take control of their day. And that is how I've designed this class. So when you sign up, you're going to learn how your brain's natural tendencies really impact your focus, and learn how to stop working against yourself so you can experience more flow and freedom during the day. You're going to learn how to tune out distractions and really be fully engaged and present with what you're working on. Learn how to prioritize tasks so the most important things get done without the mental drama, which is really one of your biggest wastes of time. and make intentional decisions, which is so much about what we talked about today, so that you've got focused work periods. And it is going to be incredible. I'm so excited about it. It's happening on Tuesday, June 7th at 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Central. There will be a replay for those of you who can't join us live, and it's only $27. And so, I
Just,
mean, it's like such a no-brainer. I'm just saying, you
oh
got to
my
come join
goodness.
me.
That is a no-brainer. I mean, $27. Come on. We should have talked about that off air ahead of time.
I want people to come and
Yeah.
experience
You want as
what
many people
happens
to enjoy it and get the
when you
benefit.
combine this mindset work with the practical tools that I teach. And it's also just a celebration of enrollment for the next round of Out of Overwhelm opening up. So those who join me on the call live are going to get first dibs on the
Mm.
program, access to a bonus. So if you are interested in signing up, it's desiid.com. So Desi and like interior design.com/focus fix. You can get all the details there, invite a friend, and I hope that I see everyone on the 7th.
I love it. I love it. First of all, this is for an hour and a half. It's only $27. We're going to come away with actual, you know, strategies, takeaways, tips and things to like you just did, gave us, an hour's worth of ideas and strategies and tips. And then this is also an opportunity to learn about your longer program called Out of Overwhelm, and there'll be special bonuses and opportunities for people who are part of this focus fix. Just to be clear, that's what the offer is, right?
Yes. Yep. You're
Love
going
it.
to walk away with lots of actionable information, just like this episode. So if you loved what you heard here, you're definitely going to love the focus fix. And yeah, and I'll be kicking off enrollment, and you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions you have about the program.
Nice. And the out of overwhelm program that you run, Desi, is it a month, 6 months, a year? Like, what is that?
It's 6 months long, and we are doing a virtual retreat to really kick things off, set goals and priorities for the 6 months together. And then we progress through a variety of topics, starting with time management and then working on all the things that affect time management, such as people pleasing behaviors, learning how to delegate systems and processes. And we coach and we implement, and it's an incredible community that forms with the different pods who join, and it's a lot of fun.
Interesting. I love it. So, so good. Well, I mean, honestly, thank you so much. This was my daughter has a podcast, Desi, and her podcast is Sass Says, and she interviews a lot of therapists and different things. And she has a term that she calls intersesh. And it's a
Hmm.
combination of an interview and a coaching session that she received from her guests.
Oh, I love that. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, so this was definitely an intersesh where I was part interviewing you and part getting coached.
Oh,
So
well, I would love for anyone who's listening, if they've had any ahas, to come find me on Instagram at Desi Creswell, or, find me on my website, and just let me know what you're working on, and just what your takeaways are.
love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, Desi.
Thank you, LuAnn. We'll talk soon.
It always strikes me how Desi can break down these concepts in such a clean and concrete way. So much of what she said today hit me right between the eyeballs, right? It sounds so simple, yet it's some of the hardest work that we do. I know many of you are experiencing or have experienced exactly what Desi talked about today. There are constant fires everywhere that need to be put out. Our day fills up, and before we know it, even when we want to plan to do the big picture things, they get put on a back burner over and over again. And this is, like Desi said, prioritizing the urgent over the important. Oh my goodness, can I just say that again? Our default, she said, is to prioritize the urgent over the important. That, like, boom, right? Like, right there. With responsibilities that I have in running 3 separate businesses, that really does hit me between the eyes, right? And of course, it makes sense that we would, that we would default to this, our first instinct, right? Client work, deadlines, the things that have to be done. But the problem with that is that as long as we're focused on the urgent, we're never going to find the time to work on the important. There's never going to be a day where we don't have a to-do list that's a mile long. There's never going to be a massive break where we can just magically get caught up on all the things that we've been dreaming about implementing in our business, like putting our systems into place, organizing our finances, and creating a marketing plan, right? These are things that we have to make time for, all right? We have to make these become urgent in our mind, and that's the hard part, right? There's something in there that Desi said that also struck with me because it's so true. Something that I have experienced repeatedly. The top 3 problems you have in your business will only grow with you as you grow your business. Yikes. I mean, she does. She just hits you between the eyes, right? We have this tendency to think that we can just ignore our problems. We know they're there. They're floating around the back of our minds, but we put them off and we put them off and we think, well, we'll figure it out. We'll get to it. But she's spot on. The problems aren't going to go away. If you are struggling with marketing, imagine how much harder it's going to be when you start to grow. If you can't get your emails organized now, hello, what's it going to be like when you have 1,000 more emails coming in each day? I don't even want to think about it. Do not get me started, okay? We can't keep hoping that the day will come when we magically have time to do what needs to be done. These problems are going to become even less manageable over time. All right. I also want to highlight the nuance that Desi mentioned there about discipline. Business owners think that they can just willpower themselves into success. I'm right there. I'm fully guilty of this too. You heard my aha in the show, right? But Desi said, doesn't work. And at first I was pushing her back on the idea, but then talking about running and how I've always pushed myself to run even when I didn't feel like it. Right? It was my aha moment. She tapped into the heart of it. I didn't push myself to run because I didn't want to beat myself up later about it. I pushed myself to run because I knew always that the future LuAnn was going to feel better about it. That's so clear for me. And the aha in this show was that I don't always apply that to my business, like pushing myself to spend 3 hours on emails because the future LuAnn will be happy about it. See, right now, the LuAnn is like, I don't want to do them. And then I don't do them. And then the next day, I'm like, do you not have any discipline, right? Like that's a real thing. So, I'm experiencing it in email chaos. You might be experiencing it in doing client presentations or doing sourcing or, defining your hiring process, right? But the idea is to not focus on the negative or even to focus on the willpower of it, right? To push yourself to do what you don't want to do. It's about thinking how you will benefit in the future if you do it, even when you don't want to do it. It seems like a small nuance. I don't know about you, but it is a completely different mindset for me. One is full of self-judgment, the kind that doesn't make you feel good about doing anything. And the other is full of motivation, laying down a pathway to the future that you will appreciate yourself and the things you did, right? And I know there's been a dozen areas in my life where I've fallen into the second category, but there's also a dozen areas that I never even realized that I was falling into the first category, okay? So Desi always comes on this show and gives me these mantras that I write down. I've told you 1,000 times. One of the ones that she gave me a few years ago was, what will your 5-year from now self say about this day? And now it's just getting tighter and clearer. The new one is, what will future LuAnn say about this moment, about this hour, about this half day, about this full day? Okay? Right? I might not want to do them, but what would future LuAnn want me to do? And what will future LuAnn think about me having done it? Okay. I can tell you, present LuAnn never, I mean, look, I ran from the time I was 14 years old until I was like 54. Okay. Literally, it's 40 years of running. I can't tell you that runner's high that I've experienced 3 times in my life. Literally. It's like whatever. But every single time I ran, whether it was 1 mile, 10 miles, 13 miles, whatever, when it was done, I went strolling into that house like I was a rock star, like Beyonce just got home, like not that I did the strut or did anything, but I mentally just felt so glad I did it. And this was the big lesson from Desi for me today, hoping you shared it, is that to apply this feeling to anything in my business that I am putting off. Okay? It's a perfect example of how the smallest mind shifts can make all the difference in our productivity, in our business, in our life. Okay? All right. I absolutely love it. I love it. Now, I just want to say that my mind does go back to Sandra Funk too, and the lessons that she talked about on the last episode she was here, 753. Okay, when her and I were standing at the airport and she was talking about all the trouble she was having with her clients. And I said to her, sweetie, 1 bad client out of 10 clients, it's the client. But 5 or 6 bad clients out of 10, it's you. Okay. And, she took it to heart like the awesome, smart lady she is. And that's when the two of us started looking at each other saying, look within. All right. If something is going wrong in your life or your business, we're playing a role in it somehow. So what I love is it's one thing to recognize that we're playing a role in it. But this framework that Desi walked us through, in my mind, gives me some skill set now, some tools to look within and take good action. Okay. I love it. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm perfect at it, even since the interview with Desi. No, but I can say that I have made changes. I legitimately have. There's certain days that I'm just like, LuAnn, what will you feel like tomorrow if you do this? What will you feel like if you do this in an hour? So, look, we always say with everything, with business, with life, with everything, growth is a process. And sometimes, the universe has to bang you over the head many, many times. Sometimes you get it the first time, right? Sandra Funk got it that first time. Standing in the airport, I said it to her. She didn't come back to me when we got out of the airport, in Newark and go, yeah, I don't really think so, Lou. I think I just have bad clients. No, she heard it. And she digested it and she took action and she really looked, okay? So sometimes we are able to do that. Other times, like me, it's years and years of not managing your email. Just going to tell you, okay? Because I have resisted it. So I love this framework and this question. What will my future self think? So if this is helping you in some way, I would love for you to share your feedback with me, either in my Facebook group, LuAnn Nigara and Friends, or on the post for this show on Instagram at LuAnn Nigara, or on regular Facebook. But if you're going to go to Facebook, go to my group, right? And then I want you to consider that Desi is doing her Focus Fix. It's coming up June 7th. That is literally around the corner. It's a week and a half away. And if you feel like you are really ready to start the ball rolling on moving into and up to that CEO role, I encourage you to sign up for this Focus Fix, okay? June 7th at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Let Desi help you figure out how you can stop holding yourself back, right? That's it. We just want to be able to rise up to be the best that we can be, the best version of ourselves at any given moment. And I started to say, have grace for the errors and the mistakes and the missteps on the way, but always remember to high five yourself when you did do something and you are feeling like Beyonce, right? All righty. Thank you so much for joining us today. Desi, sending you a virtual high five, lady. You blow me away every time you come on the show. I appreciate you. All right. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you'd like to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you want to learn more about exciting windows, where you can get education and resources to build a better window treatment business, go to excitingwindows.biz. Have an excellent day.